It's 2 a.m. You place your hand on your baby's forehead and feel a burning heat, like a furnace. 6 hours ago, the baby received a vaccination. Now your mind is racing. Did I just make my baby sick? Is this normal? Should I call emergency services? Take a deep breath, Mom. I've been in your shoes, staring at the thermometer at 2 a.m. with a racing heart. After watching this video, you'll know exactly what's normal, what isn't, and what you really need to do in this situation. Let's start with the good news. That fever you're seeing, in most cases, it's not a sign that your baby is sick. It's actually a sign that their immune system is doing its job. I remember my daughter's first fever after her 2-month-old vaccinations vividly. Right around dinner time, when I picked her up, she felt hotter than usual. The thermometer read 100.9 degrees Fahrenheit, about 38.3 degrees Celsius. My heart sank with worry. With trembling hands, I called the after-hours medical advice line, and the nurse asked just one question. Is she still nursing, peeing regularly, and able to be soothed? She was doing all of those things. Then this is exactly the reaction we expect, the nurse said. That statement completely changed how I viewed fevers. It wasn't the enemy, but proof that the vaccine was working. Think of it this way. A vaccine is like a wanted poster for a pathogen. It exposes the immune system to a small, harmless part of a virus or bacterium so the body can learn to recognize it. And as the immune system studies that blueprint, it proactively raises the body's temperature. Fever raises body temperature, allowing immune cells to move faster and function more effectively. That is why doctors refer to fever as a feature rather than a bug of vaccination. Did you know that fever is listed as a common side effect on CDC vaccine information sheets for vaccines such as DTaP, Hepatitis B, MMR, and pneumococcal vaccines? It is not a dangerous warning sign. It is simply a natural biological mechanism. So just how common is this? It actually depends on the specific vaccine the child received. The pneumococcal vaccine, such as Prevnar 13, causes fever in about 24 to 35 out of every 100 children. RotaTeq causes fever in about 17 to 20 out of 100 children, while Rotarix does so in about 25 to 28 out of 100. So if a classmate at daycare doesn't develop a fever but your child does, it doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply reflects the fact that every child's immune system is slightly different. And here is an interesting point. The timing of the fever can tell you a lot. If your child receives an inactivated vaccine containing a killed virus, such as DTaP, a fever typically appears within 12 to 24 hours and resolves within a day or two. However, if your child receives a live-attenuated vaccine containing a live but weakened virus, like the MMR or chickenpox vaccine, the fever may appear much later, sometimes 7 to 12 days after the shot. This delayed fever is nothing to worry about. It simply means the weakened live virus is quietly training your child's immune system. A mother in our community messaged me about this very issue. Her son received the MMR vaccine on a Monday, and by the following Tuesday, more than a week later, he developed a fever of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, approximately 38 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius. She was convinced he had caught an illness at daycare and nearly took him in for a strep test. Then she remembered, the MMR is a live-attenuated vaccine. She called her pediatrician to confirm, and sure enough, it was a classic post-MMR fever, appearing right on schedule. She later told me, I wish someone had told me this before it happened, rather than after the fact. That is exactly why I am sharing this with you now, before you face the situation yourself. But there is one thing most people overlook. Knowing the fever's timeline is only half the battle. The other half is knowing exactly what to do when the fever starts. Let's look at each step in detail. Step 1. Prepare a reliable thermometer and measure the temperature correctly. For young children, rectal temperature measurement is the most accurate method. Therefore, if your pediatrician recommends this approach, do not skip it simply because you feel uncomfortable or find it inconvenient to perform. Step 2. Dress the child in cool, comfortable clothing. I understand that parents' natural instinct is to bundle their child up when they feel hot, but in reality, wearing light, breathable clothing actually helps the body cool down naturally and more effectively. Step 3. Ensure the child stays hydrated. This could be breast milk, milk formula, or water for older children. Staying hydrated helps the body regulate the fever and keeps the child comfortable. Step 4. Prioritize comfort over trying to break the fever immediately. Offer extra cuddles, place a cool cloth on the child's forehead, and keep the room quiet and well ventilated. The goal isn't to eliminate the fever, but to help the child get through it as gently as possible. You might be wondering, should I give my child Tylenol, fever-reducing medication, right away? Here is an honest, science-backed answer. The issue is a bit more complex and nuanced than many people realize. CDC vaccine advisors do not recommend giving fever-reducing medication before vaccination simply to prevent a fever. Why? Because studies show that administering acetaminophen, like Tylenol, beforehand can reduce the antibody response, meaning the baby's body might not generate an optimal level of protection. However, there is reassuring news. Even if the immune response is slightly lower, in the vast majority of cases, the child still achieves the necessary level of immunity for protection. Therefore, the best advice today is simple. Give fever-reducing medication if the child is uncomfortable, using a weight-based dosage approved by your pediatrician, rather than giving it just in case beforehand. That is the difference between treating symptoms and using medication unnecessarily. For this reason, in most cases of mild fever, parents simply need to be patient, ensure the child stays hydrated, and offer comfort and reassurance. There is no need to panic. However, I want to be upfront with you because most cases does not mean every single case. There are times when a post-vaccination fever is no longer a normal reaction but becomes a medical emergency. This is information every mother needs to commit to memory, not just glance at once. If your baby is 3 months old or younger, meaning 90 days of age or less, any fever of 4 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius or higher is a reason to call your doctor or visit an emergency care facility immediately, even if the fever appears right after the 2-month vaccination. I know this sounds frightening, but an infant's immune system isn't always as effective at fighting serious infections as an older child's. That is why doctors are always especially cautious when dealing with cases in this age group. For babies older than 3 months, here are the situations you need to watch out for. Call your pediatrician if there is a high fever exceeding 102 degrees Fahrenheit, 38.9 degrees Celsius, if the fever lasts longer than 2 days, or if the baby appears lethargic, unusually sleepy, or difficult to wake. Additionally, watch for signs such as refusing fluids, forceful or repeated vomiting, a fever over 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, or increasing redness and swelling at the injection site. Now, let's talk about a worry that keeps many mothers up at night: febrile seizures. It is true, witnessing this can be truly terrifying, but there is a reassuring fact. Up to 5% of young children will experience this at some point, and vaccines are very rarely the cause. Even with combination vaccines like MMRV, the increased risk is minimal, about 8.5 cases per 10,000 children, compared to 4.2 cases per 10,000 with separate shots. And most febrile seizures last less than 2 minutes and cause no long-term harm. I understand that even knowing these figures, the fear felt in the moment doesn't simply vanish. I will never forget sitting with a friend in the emergency room waiting area after her son had a febrile seizure at home. She described the event exactly as it typically unfolds. His eyes rolled back, his little body went rigid, and then jerked repeatedly for about 45 seconds. Yet to her, that time felt like an eternity. She was convinced she was losing her child. But by the time they reached the hospital, he was alert again. Though a bit sleepy, he was completely normal, even reaching for his sippy cup as if nothing had happened. The doctor told her what I want you to know. The sight is terrifying, but in the vast majority of cases, it causes no lasting damage. She still calls those the 2 worst minutes of her life. But in the end, it was only 2 minutes. However, understanding the statistics and distinguishing between what is truly dangerous and what is merely a temporary discomfort is the key to turning fear into confidence. So, here is something I want you to keep in mind, moms. A fever following vaccination is usually a sign that your baby's immune system is functioning exactly as it naturally should. Pay attention to the timing of the fever and focus on managing your baby's discomfort rather than obsessing over the temperature reading. And remember that if a baby under 3 months old develops a fever, you need to call the doctor immediately without delay. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How did your little one react after their last vaccination, and what helped you stay calm? Please leave a comment. You never know, another mom might be scrolling through her phone at 2 a.m., exhausted, and really need to read those experiences. If this content helped put your mind at ease, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so we can keep exploring this topic together. You're doing a better job than you think, Mom. See you in the next video.